afternoon, happy Thursday. And I'm saying happy Thursday, it's pretty grim here in London. Don't know where you are. It's been a bit of a murky start to the day. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes and let anyone join us who wants to join us live. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so if you see my eyes darting around a little bit, then that is why. So last week I started my live, so I've been joining in and doing these little lives now every week, and I completely did not even introduce myself. I did not even say, hi, I'm Leah, nice to see you. So I'm Leah and I run Start Your Yoga Biz. So if at any point during this video you want to say hi or pop a little message in, then feel free to do that. Hi Nicola. I'm going to wave back to you. Okay, so everyone who's just jumping in, hi, I'm Leah and I run Start Your Yoga Biz. So I've been offering these free coaching videos here every Thursday at 2 o'clock. The feedback's been really nice, so I'm going to keep it going as much as I can. So I run Start Your Yoga Biz, and I just basically want to help new, or we'll say, you know, maybe not new, but struggling yoga teachers take the stress out of building a yoga business, because it's really hard, isn't it? As yoga teachers by nature, we tend to be quite modest, not necessarily career or business driven. So I thought I would share my experiences. So today I'm going to be talking about that phrase, the gap in the market. So maybe when you set up your classes, or you're looking at setting up your classes, your offering, your product, whatever you are working on at the moment, you might have been thinking, okay, where can I slot in? What is not being offered at the moment? What is, you know, where is the gap in the market? Where could I really find, where could I find a tribe? You know, what can I slot into? What would really work for me? And hi, Evelina. And here's the thing with that. So with that gap in the market, what if the gap in the market is something that you are not very good at, or you don't feel very passionate about, or you don't feel very confident with? I think it's become, you know, there are a lot of classes that are everywhere. Probably on every yoga studio timetable you're going to find 5, 6 or 10 vinyasa flow classes. Every new teacher that's coming out of an intense training will probably say, I want to teach a hatha class, or I want to teach a beginner's class. So we look at these labels and we think, right, I need to do something different. I need to stand out. And you can stand out without having to change everything that you feel you do well, okay? I'm going to just give you a couple of experiences of my own so that I can kind of refer back to it and you understand where I'm coming from. So about 2 years ago, I'd completely moved away from the yoga studio model, and I was working on my own business model, okay? So it took me about 10 months, 12 months to set it up, and at the same time, I'd been working part-time, teaching for other studios, private classes, as we do, you know, just spreading ourselves a little bit thin on the ground, running from studio to studio, 20, 25 classes a week, and I was managing a holistic studio as well. So at this time I was moving away, I was setting up my own classes, and I knew I loved teaching. So I'm your basic bitch, I love teaching vinyasa flow. I have a dance background, a strong dance background. So really flowy movement is what I love to teach, and there was no way I was going to drop my vinyasa flow classes. But then I thought, okay, how am I going to stand out alongside my winning personality? Let me come up with some classes that are not necessarily popular, or there's not a lot of it around here, and let me push that. So 2 classes that I went with, I'm going to give you different experiences for both of them. Yoga for teens, okay? There is not, in this area that I live, there is not one yoga for teens class. Now that class was very popular, it was very profitable. As I said, there's not a lot around here, so anyone that was searching yoga for teens anywhere in this area, obviously I'd marketed it very well. It was all on Google, Facebook, it was all linked to my website. I got a lot of inquiries about it, and the class was full, okay? So yoga for teens. Let me tell you about teenagers. Teenagers are really hard work, all right? So I got myself in this rut where I had 10, 12 teenagers turning up, filling out my space. The parents were really reliable, everything was paid up front, but I didn't enjoy teaching it. And I didn't enjoy teaching it because, one, I haven't been a teenager for many, many years and I couldn't remember what it was like to be a teenager. I can't really relate to how they're feeling now because depending on how old you are, you might find teenagers quite funny when they have their little strops and tantrums and they go quiet and you kind of want to laugh at them. I know I do with my nieces and nephews. So I couldn't connect to these teenagers, and even though they were enjoying it because their parents told me and they kept coming back and they would shrug and say, "Oh, thanks miss," as they left, that for me was never going to work out because teenagers are not my target audience. I don't remember being one, I don't have any at home, all right? So for me, even though it was a profitable project and venture, it didn't work out because I just didn't enjoy teaching it. And then when my timetable became really big and really full with all my own classes, that was one of the first ones I let go of, which was kind of heartbreaking because I know how much the teenagers need it because of all the angst and anxiety they have, but it just wasn't me that was supposed to teach it, okay? But that was me looking for a gap in the market, let me thinking, what can I do that's different? And it didn't work out because I didn't enjoy it. And secondly, another gap in the market, which is kind of a different variation. I teach a class called Stretch Therapy, okay? So it's a blend of yin, restorative postures. Sometimes I do a little bit of very gentle movement, and it is one of my busiest classes. I used to teach 3 classes a week. I then cut down to 1, so I'm just teaching 1 online now during lockdown. And that class is full. It's always full. It's one of my first classes that will fill up on my timetable. It's a little different to go into a restorative class or go into a yin class or go into a gentle yoga or gentle hatha class because it's got little elements of everything in it. But for me, it's a little bit boring, all right? So when I'm in a studio and back in the day when we could touch humans, it was kind of nice because it was chilled and I could walk around, I could offer hands-on assists and adjustments for those who wanted it. I can give out props. I used to take my essential oils. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a masseuse as well. So I do a little bit of Thai yoga massage. So I had all these different options and it's groups of women that I've been teaching for 3 or 4 years. So it's a really enjoyable experience to teach it, but it is a little bit boring. It's a Friday morning class in the real world and I'll just kind of sit, guide a lot through, walk around, but it's my slowest moving class of the week, okay? So again, that was me looking for a gap in the market, both of which have turned out well on a business level, that they've been profitable, they were easy to run, they were easy to market, but just for me, it hasn't really, it wasn't good. It wasn't good for me. It didn't feel good for me, okay? So I should have stuck with Vinyasa Flow, okay? Vinyasa is what I teach. Even when I say I'm teaching a slow class or I say it's a hatha class, it turns into a breathy, flowy, dance-based movement class, okay? And that's just how I am as a person, how I am as a teacher, how I move. So for me, that's the style that I teach. So instead of thinking, I need to look for a gap in the market, I need to know, what everyone else isn't doing, stop doing that. Know what you are really good at, okay? Understand what makes you feel really good, what your niche is, like your niche teaching style. Understand who your target audience is, not teenagers probably, maybe. Understand who your target audience are, and then create your project, create your product for that client, for that target audience. And that way we know exactly how to market it, okay? We know how to make it profitable. We know how to really make it work and put it in front of the right person. Hope that makes sense. Feel free to give any feedback or answer any questions. Yeah, answer any questions that you have. Ask any questions that you have if you want to. I don't know, if you guys want to interact, let me know anything that you are maybe thinking of launching, or is there a class or a workshop kind of thing that you have where you thought, oh, that's a gap in the market, I'll definitely do that. And now you're thinking, maybe that's not quite for me. I'll give you a minute. I know I've got a 20-second delay here on Facebook. So if anybody wants to drop a message in, then you can. I'm just seeing a few more people have joined us. So if you've just joined, we're talking about the gap in the market and how the gap in the market is not necessarily the right gap for you to slot into. So I hope it does make sense to you that rather than finding something and filling a space, make sure that you're filling the space with something that you are passionate about and something that you feel really confident in. That's okay, let me just catch up on these messages that come in. So important to love what you do, but finding a niche is a struggle for me in London with so many teachers. Yeah. So this is where it comes back to, like, you can have the same niche as someone else. That's fine, because that person isn't going to have the same teaching style and the same personality as you. I know my definition of a vinyasa flow is very different to another teacher's. One of my very good friends is a vinyasa flow teacher here, and she is super strong. She throws in loads of arm balances, 755 chaturangas per practice, which I hate, by the way. But she'll focus more on strong standing postures, and then it's all just connected with the vinyasa flow, and it's connected with breath, but a lot more, standing strong postures. My vinyasa flow, you come into my class and we're going to dance, all right? We're going to move. I move my postures. I feel like I need to start demonstrating, so I can't even sit still. So I'm very flowy. I do a lot of work with building postures, so I might be moving towards a certain posture and I'll be building it up, so I'll repeat the same sequence, just adding bits and bobs on. So your definition of a class that you want to teach might be completely different to someone else's, and your personality, your teaching method is not going to be the same as anyone else's. So if you want to teach beginners yoga, if you want to have a 6-week beginners yoga class, and you think, well, how is that going to stand out? Know exactly who you want to market it to, because sometimes beginners yoga might be for people who have injuries. It might be for people who have no idea about yoga at all. It might be for seniors, for an older audience. So as long as you know the actual audience that you are marketing towards, because everyone that loves vinyasa flow is not going to love my class. There's a local studio to me, literally a 10 or 15 minute walk from the studio that I would usually teach my vinyasa class in. So everyone who comes to my class could go to that class, but they come to mine. Does that make sense? So there are enough people. There's always going to be, I was listening to a coaching audio the other day actually that I loved, and the coach in it, she said, there are always going to be more people wanting to practice yoga than yoga teachers. So there's enough to go around. Like, never feel like someone is your competition. And you can always get that vibe from teachers and from studios when it gets their back up that you advertise in the same places, okay? But going into a yoga studio, you get that kind of generic style. Okay, I think it's very rare these days when you go into a studio that you get a teacher who really stands out. I mean, of all the studio classes I've been to in the last, say, 4 or 5 years, I can tell you 2 teachers that massively stood out to me, yeah? One I studied with when I lived in Bahrain, and she is who inspired me to go on my teacher training, and that was about, actually, I'm lying, that was about 7 years ago. Just because she broke it down, and the way she spoke, it was so normal to me that it made me understand. I'd never experienced a yoga class like that before, and I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting because of how she communicated it. It was a vinyasa flow class, all right? And no different or better, put together sequence than other teachers that I've been to, but the way she explained it was absolutely out of this world. Like, she made movement make sense to me. Another teacher, the friend of mine who loves all the arm balances and chaturangas, she has amazing energy when she teaches, she is so strong. She's a teeny little thing, and yeah, the way she breaks arm balances down and the energy that she has when she teaches, her voice, it's all those little things, isn't it, that come together. But a lot of teachers, it's just kind of run of the mill. Nobody wants to get off their mat. They're just talking you through the movements that they are doing. So yeah, when you live in, I know it's difficult in London, because I know in London, I don't know where everyone else is based, you can jump in and let us know if you want, but I know in London you have to audition for a lot of studios. You have to have 2 to 3 years teaching experience, and it becomes a competition, it becomes a competition. You're thinking everyone else is better than me because they've been teaching for a longer period of time, and you know, people get used to their teachers. They don't want to bring other teachers into the studios, and it can be that way. So this is why I'm very much for teachers setting up their own classes, finding their own space, running their own business, so that you can, you know, feel the benefit and feel the profit from all the work that you're putting in. You know, do you want to turn up to a class and be paid X amount? I think in London, 25, 30, 40 pounds an hour for a class that you could have taught and set up yourself, where you earn all of the money from that because people have come for you, okay? So I hope that makes sense. Again, if you want to drop any questions in, feel free to do so. To really feel passionately about what you're teaching, know your niche and your target audience, so not necessarily having to think about a gap in the market and where you want to go, but if you are I'm going to say generic, so I'm going to say I'm a generic teacher, I teach Vinyasa Flow, yeah. If you have a generic style, if you don't have anything that is like really wow, standout product, then you need to make sure that you are marketing it directly towards your target audience. So I have got an audio on finding your niche on YouTube, so I'll link that on Facebook. If you're not in the Facebook group, you can jump on in, or you can find me on YouTube, Start Your Yoga Biz. There is an audio on there about finding your niche, but really just feeling comfortable in what you love to teach, you know. I think when you're first starting out, you can get drawn, like really reeled into that, just teach everything. And some teachers, they can just turn their hand to teaching any class. Some people can do yin and vinyasa and a power flow and a gentle flow and a beginner's class and a restorative class, and that's great, but you will become more profitable as a business owner if you niche it down and you find, you know, exactly what if you want to get really into it, meant to be doing. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to leave it there today, mainly because I was going to put a timer on so I didn't run over like 15 minutes, because I know we're all busy and I completely forgot. So I'm not here doing a live next week, but next week I'm running my free 5-day course, so the Business Brain Reset. So it's all targeted around finding that shift of energy, especially as we might be starting to come out of lockdown. Maybe lockdown really messed up all your plans and you don't know what you're doing with your yoga business now. So I'm doing a 5-day coaching course. I'm going live at 11 o'clock every morning in the Facebook group. So if you're not in the Facebook group, then jump into it. Make sure you're signed up to the mailing list so you get all of the worksheets and the follow-up emails that come along with it as well. Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you there. We can shift our brains around a little bit. We're doing a lot of mind mapping and working through being badass post-lockdown, really. You are very welcome, Nicola. Thank you for joining me. So I hope you have a really nice afternoon. Feel free always to send me a message if you want to. Make sure you're signed up to the mailing list where I send out my freebie coaching emails every week. And I'll be back on the regular on Thursdays from the week after next. I would give you a date, but I've completely lost track of dates right now. I don't know about anyone else. So have yourself a really nice weekend and hopefully I'll see you Monday. Bye.